Good evening and welcome to our special report. Tonight we bring you a developing story that's sending shockwaves through the heart of America. Across the nation, the foundation of American manufacturing is being shaken like never before. Stellantis, one of the world's largest automotive giants, has announced the indefinite shutdown of several key U.S. plants, a move that has left entire communities reeling and uncertain about their future. This isn't just a business decision, it's a crisis that touches the lives of thousands of workers, their families, and the small towns that depend on these jobs to survive. For many, it's a devastating blow that threatens their livelihoods and the stability of their communities. The root of the closures lies in escalating trade tensions and a new wave of tariffs, particularly those targeting electric vehicle components and the raw materials essential for modern car production. These economic pressures are rippling through the supply chain, making it harder for companies to keep their doors open. Stellantis, the parent company of iconic brands like Jeep, Ram, and Chrysler, says these tariffs have made it nearly impossible to maintain profitable operations in the United States. The company warns that unless something changes, more closures could follow. In tonight's report, we'll break down the complex factors that led to this crisis, hear directly from the workers whose lives have been upended, and explore the far-reaching ripple effects that are spreading across the country. From the bustling factory floors of the Midwest to car dealerships now facing empty lots and uncertain futures, the impact is both real and immediate. Local economies are bracing for tough times ahead. This is more than a story about cars or corporate profits. It's about the very future of American work, the resilience of our communities, and how we adapt in a rapidly changing world. Stay with us as we unpack the American auto crisis, examine what's at stake, and look ahead to what the future may hold for workers, families, and the nation as a whole. Yesterday, Stellantis announced the indefinite closure of its Bellwether assembly plant in Illinois and Warren Truck Assembly in Michigan, with major cutbacks in Toledo, Ohio. Over 13,000 workers are suddenly facing unemployment. The company blames soaring costs from tariffs on imported parts and raw materials, costs up 25% in just a year. CEO Carlos Tavares called the current trade environment untenable, with tariffs erasing profits on popular US-made models. These plants aren't just factories, they're pillars of their communities, supporting countless local businesses. The closures send a chilling message. American manufacturing is at risk, and entire regions are bracing for economic shockwaves. For thousands, a way of life is now on hold. How did we get here? 18 months ago, the US imposed targeted tariffs on Chinese-made EV components, batteries, motors, and semiconductors. The goal boost domestic production and reduce reliance on foreign supply chains. But automakers like Stellantis rely on global networks. 40% of their US vehicle parts come from abroad. Tariffs on even a single component can halt entire assembly lines. Retaliatory tariffs from China and the EU have made exporting US-made cars harder, squeezing profits from both ends. The result: building cars in America is more expensive, and selling them overseas is tougher. For Stellantis, the double hit made US operations unsustainable. The trade war's gamble has left American factories and workers caught in the crossfire. The human toll is staggering, over 13,000 workers suddenly jobless. For many, the news came without warning, leaving families scrambling to figure out what comes next. The shockwaves ripple far beyond the factory gates, touching every corner of these tight-knit towns. Many are second or third generation employees now facing an uncertain future. Generations who once took pride in building America's cars now wonder if their family legacy will end here. The sense of loss is not just financial, but deeply personal. David Chen, a 22-year veteran at Warren Truck, told us, "This plant put food on my table. It paid for my kids' education, my mortgage, everything." For workers like David, the factory was more than a job. It was a lifeline. Now, we're left with nothing. The sense of abandonment is palpable as workers clear out their lockers and say goodbye to colleagues who feel like family. The United Auto Workers Union calls the shutdown a betrayal and demands urgent action. Union leaders are rallying support, vowing to fight for every job and every family affected by the closure. For every lost auto job, up to 10 more in the community are at risk, from suppliers to local diners. The ripple effect is devastating, threatening the survival of small businesses that depend on the factory's workforce. Local officials estimate the economic hit could top $500 million annually. City leaders warn that tax revenues will plummet, putting public services and infrastructure at risk. These plants are more than workplaces, they're the heart of their towns. They sponsor little league teams, fund local charities, and bring neighbors together. Their loss leaves a void that's hard to fill. As families consider moving away, schools and businesses face decline. Enrollment drops, classrooms empty, and once busy neighborhoods grow quiet as people search for new opportunities elsewhere. The shutdown threatens not just paychecks, but the very identity of proud industrial communities. The American dream, once built on steady factory work, now feels out of reach for many. The cost is measured in lost hope and fractured lives. For these families, the future is uncertain, and the scars of this loss may last for generations. The Stellantis shutdown is just the start. Tariffs are driving up car prices nationwide. New vehicle prices have jumped nearly 12% since mid-2024, with costs passed directly to consumers. Automakers are focusing on high-profit trucks and SUVs, leaving fewer affordable options. Some foreign brands are delaying new models, and dealership lots are thinning out again. Used car prices are up 8% in 6 months, putting reliable transportation out of reach for many. Companies with supply chains in Mexico or Canada may fare better, but market instability is widespread. The rules of global trade are shifting, and no automaker is truly safe. For millions of Americans, the trade war means higher costs and fewer choices. The United States is at a crossroads, facing a crisis just as it accelerates its push for an electric vehicle revolution. The vision is bold: millions of EVs on American roads, cleaner air, and a future less dependent on fossil fuels. But the path forward is proving far more complicated than many expected. Tariffs were introduced with the hope of building a robust domestic EV supply chain, creating American jobs and reducing reliance on foreign sources. Yet despite these efforts, the U.S. still depends heavily on imports for critical components. Over 75% of battery cells are sourced from China, making the dream of self-sufficiency elusive. The unintended consequence? Manufacturing electric vehicles in the U.S. has become significantly more expensive than simply importing them, putting domestic automakers at a disadvantage and raising prices for consumers. Take Stellantis, for example. The company had ambitious plans to launch 5 new US-made EVs by 2027. Now, those plans hang in the balance, threatened by rising costs and supply chain uncertainties. Automakers across the country are caught in a dilemma, facing mounting pressure to electrify their fleets, while also grappling with soaring production costs and unpredictable market conditions at home. The recent shutdown of plants like Bellwether, which was once slated to be a hub for EV production, marks a significant setback for the industry and the communities that depend on these jobs. As America's green ambitions stall, foreign competitors, many with more established supply chains and lower costs, are poised to capture a larger share of the market, potentially leaving the U.S. behind in the global race for clean transportation. Now, industry leaders and policymakers are sounding the alarm, urging for smarter, more flexible policies that can balance long-term environmental goals with the economic realities of today, ensuring the electric dream doesn't slip further out of reach. In Washington, the scramble is on. The White House has sent top officials to meet with Stellantis and union leaders, while lawmakers demand a review of tariff policies. Public anger is rising. 65% of Americans now fear more job losses and higher prices. Rallies and online campaigns are calling for urgent solutions. Analysts say a quick fix could involve temporary tariff exemptions and accelerated domestic supply chain investment. But without major policy changes, Stellantis is unlikely to reverse course. The future of American manufacturing hangs in the balance. Will this be a temporary crisis or a lasting scar? We'll keep following this story. Thank you for watching.